Hello everyone, and welcome to Aaron Shack Politics, where we have more on what is going on in Amsterdam. We have a lot of context being added to what is happening, and we're going to take a look at that right now. So this is from Walid Mahmoud. He has a clip here which we're going to actually watch in a longer format of what is happening with the Maccabi Tel Aviv Hooligans in Amsterdam. And this is from a page, a YouTuber named Bender, who seems to do a lot of sports coverage and stuff like that. A lot of things in the Amsterdam area. And he kind of just found himself in the middle of this clash. And so he has gained critical acclaim. He documents the Maccabi Tel Aviv Hooligans carrying wooden planks and poles, running in packs across the city earlier this week. He also gets instructed by one of the hooligans to stop filming for his own safety. We'll watch this in the longer format. But we'll go ahead and take a look at this little clip here.
Oh, ze jatten allemaal pallets uit elkaar.
Yeah, they're taking wood from like pallets and stuff like that from the street.
Ze lopen gewoon met wapens.
So they're basically walking around with weaponry. So it's
Er rijden trouwens 3 trams
subtitles in English.
tegen elkaar aan. Misschien is bouwen ze een soort muur.
So yeah, the trams are trying to build a wall to separate, you know, Dutch citizens from Maccabi Tel Aviv.
De conflicten komen nu.
From both sides. And you can see they have like metal bats, you know, steel pipes, and of course the wood. So. This is very premeditated. This is not people that are just accidentally doing this. It's not that they're doing this in defense. This is a rampage by these Israeli soccer fans. This is a rampage that they are choosing to do after they have lost their game against Ajax.
Zo dan, kom je bijdraaien?
Zo hé. Ze zijn zeg maar die twee groepen. Eén groep kwam vanaf
Two
daar.
groups, one group came out of the alley.
Gelopen, met stokken gegooid.
Other group charged at them, threw sticks at them. Now they're throwing fireworks.
Je merkt wel, ze zijn nog niet klaar. Dit
Very
gaat nog wel
clear
even
that they're
duren.
not done yet. This is going to last for a while.
Zo, ik moest ook net stoppen met filmen. Ze zeiden,
Want me to stop filming
voor je
for your
eigen
own
veiligheid
safety.
zet nu je mic
Turn
uit.
off your camera.
Maar ze zijn niet blij.
And once again, we're going to watch that in a longer form context of his whole video. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. But as you can see here, Bender, he's got his YouTube page here. This has over 1.2 million views. He has over 235K subscribers. Head over there. I'm going to have links in the description, like the video, because news coverage like this needs to be praised, because this is what Western media are missing. They didn't have anyone filming this, so they're either borrowing his footage or other people's footage that were there, and they are setting the narrative in a different way. They're trying to say that these are Dutch residents and pro-Palestinian protesters that have picked up the metal pipes and stuff like that. But you can clearly see that these are the colors and the look of the Israeli hooligans, Maccabi Hooligans. So let's take a look at this video, and we'll react as we go. It does have English subtitles, okay?
Conflicten komen nu.
And you might hear some words or cognates.
B-E-N-D-E-R.
Oh my God.
Achter mij is de
He's a
wedstrijd
brave guy.
aan de gang. Tel Aviv krijgt een pakje slaag, maar toch doet dat de sfeer niet ten goede. Ik ben benieuwd wat er gebeurt als ze nou eigenlijk naar buiten komen. Dus laten we een kijkje nemen. Wat een leuke, gezellige mensen.
Spring die is geen jood, zware hees is wat ik rook. Ajax, ik ben op een noos. Ik blijf springen uitgekomen.
dogs.
Amsterdammer tot de dood. Happy zomaar speel je boos. En een paar lijpe hooligans en die mannen maken geen jokes.
That's pretty good. He had a little clip of major events that happened throughout the night.
Het is afwachten wat gaat gebeuren. Joden. We lopen nu richting de Belmer Arena. En je merkt dat er wat
So train
jongeren over
station
straat
here.
lopen. Die nogal onrustig tegen de politie doen. Dus ja, maar volgens mij, het is weer, ze lopen, ze schelden ze gewoon uit en
Cursing
dan
at the
rennen ze weer
police.
weg. Inmiddels wordt iedereen die onrustig is gewoon weer weggestuurd. Stad verloopt rustig, maar we gaan verder zoeken op Centraal
Yeah, so it
Station.
seems like police are just kind of trying to monitor and pacify the situation.
Kijk, alle sporen zijn verschillend afgezet. Zodat je dus niet elkaar tegenkomt als je niet op
Right,
dezelfde
so once
sporen
again they're using the
Dus
trains and
alles
vans and
voorkomen.
barriers to separate groups that might cause unrest.
En bij de NS staat gewoon een hond. Gewoon om even af te schrikken. In de metro zit de sfeer er gelukkig wel in. Nu nog kijken op het Centraal Station.
He's headed to Central Station.
Tel Aviv. Niemand. Of toch niet? Oh, we zijn net op Centraal en je merkt al eigenlijk dat de sfeer wat
The
minder gezellig
atmosphere is way
is. Er worden
less
vuurwerkbommetjes
pleasant.
afgestoken.
Fireworks,
En ze zijn nu aan het
running and
rennen en
yelling.
aan het schreeuwen. Ik weet niet wat er... Nee. Ik weet niet wat er precies gebeurt. Het is wel een flinke stoet.
And this is what happens when you have, journalists and people on the ground.
Oh, ze zijn palen uit de grond aan
Stealing
het
metal poles from the ground there
jagen.
from
Ze
the
hebben palen uit de
construction
grond
site.
gejat. Ik denk om zichzelf te weren van mensen die ze lastigvallen. Oh, ze doen nu allemaal
Now
maskers.
these are the Maccabi Tel Aviv Israelis that are doing
Er is geen
this. So they
politie,
are
dus je weet niet
choosing
precies.
to, rather than just go back to their hotels or hop on a flight and go home or whatever it may be, they are choosing, hey, we're going to rampage this town and, we're going to parade our genocide. We're going to be racist. We're going to parade this genocide that we've been doing against Palestinians. And we're going to make all of Europe, see us for who we really are, which, hopefully this ends up backfiring.
Het is heel gespannen
Especially
sfeer.
when the truth gets out
Oké.
there.
Ja, politie.
So there are police, and you see them in cars and stuff. But obviously they're outnumbered, and
Okay.
now you have,
Ze gaan achter mensen aan. Veel politie.
these
Oh,
Israelis
oké,
are now
loopt helemaal uit de
armed.
Oh,
sirens
palen
are
naar de
on.
politieauto. Zo.
So they threw metal poles
So-
at the police. So once again, still the Israelis doing this. They're throwing metal poles at the police car. Let's back up.
Oh, palen naar
See,
de
they turned as
politieauto.
soon as they heard
Zo.
that sound.
Zo. Ze
So
zijn
they're
een beetje
provoking
uit elkaar.
this. Once again,
Taxichauffeur reed ook expres doorheen. Ze hadden van die bouwvakkerspalen uit de grond gehaald. En die op andere mensen gegooid.
okay,
en
so
op de
they took
politie
metal
gedrukt.
pipes from the construction site and started throwing them at people in the police vans. Of course, some of the videos that I've already done on the channel, you can find in the Palestine playlist, and I'll have them linked below. But some of those show that they were burning Palestinian flags and saying racist chants and stuff. And these are Palestinian flags that are, on businesses, residents' homes, and stuff like that. They are taking down Dutch people's private property and burning it.
We zijn weer eens, zoals altijd, de enige media die er is. Politie...
So he said we're the only media present.
Hij keert terug, alleen hij is in zijn eentje. Je hebt wel... De groep is
Yeah,
hier,
so
hij
he's
heeft
he's mentioning
duidelijk
that this police van is on his own and that they're going to need backup. If not, it's going to be a lost cause. There's only 2 vans
versterking
now.
nodig, want dit
So
gaat
there you
anders
go.
niks worden. Er staan 2 busjes.
Yeah, once again, police still outnumbered, so it's all about, controlling and pacifying the situation, with sirens, with, their vehicles or what have you.
Het politie-signaal is uit. Het leek op een vechtpartij, maar we weten niet precies met wie. Ik denk met mensen die tegen ze zijn.
So a
Het lijkt
fight.
erop alsof ze misschien in dit hotel verblijven.
might be staying in this hotel.
Alleen
So
ze
some of the
krijgen
people may have gone to their
En ze
hotel,
lijken
but
niet bang. Ze
you know, as we can
schreeuwen
see
veel.
in the doorway, but there are obviously, you know, a large population here is continuing. So this is important. This speaks to motive. This speaks to premeditation.
Ik versta het niet. Dus als je het kan vertalen in de comments, zou fijn zijn. In de comments. Sir, what's happening?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
You went to the game?
Yeah.
What do you think is gonna happen? Because yesterday they destroyed some things in Amsterdam.
I just stay away to don't involve the violence.
Okay. So you're not a hooligan?
No, I just stroke an eyelash.
Okay. Okay. Enjoy your night.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. Ze trekken nu echt het centrum in. Dus ik ben benieuwd wat hiervan terechtkomt. Het ziet er nog steeds niet gezellig uit. Ze hebben ook nog maar twee busjes. Het lijkt er echt op alsof de politie eigenlijk niks doet. Niet eens. Dus niet
Yeah,
eens
he's
waarschuwen,
coming
ze
that the
rijden
police are
gewoon mee.
doing nothing.
En ja, dan
Not
denk-
even
dan-
warning
dan-
them,
ja,
just
op een gegeven
following
moment
them.
dan gaat er wat
Well,
kapot
because
en
they
dan
don't want to
doen ze nog
provoke
niks.
unrest, you know.
Maar misschien rijden ze mee in de hoop dat er meer
Whether
versterking
we
is.
like what they're doing or
Volgens
not,
mij,
you
al
know.
die taxis, dat was dus gisteravond ook, die zijn niet zo blij met de
Ah,
actie.
okay.
Dus die
So now he's mentioning that the taxi cabs are very upset because a lot of the unrest that has been going on the past several days has been these Israeli hooligans, you know, running about town and burning flags and blocking traffic and all this stuff. So they're all honking right now,
met
which
z'n
he's
allen aan
saying
het
will,
toeteren en
will
dan
probably lead to more
hoogstwaarschijnlijk komt daar weer
confrontations.
ruzie van. Zoals je kan horen.
So it's clear that the people of Amsterdam are not enjoying this at all.
Kijk, veel.
And then once again, look, we're seeing these are the people, these are the hooligans, right? Can't be mistaken as anyone else because of, once again, the colors they're wearing, the language they're speaking, and then, of course, look how they're picking up wood from pallets and stuff to use as weapons. So they got the pipes, but now they have wood
Ze
planks.
jatten allemaal pallets uit elkaar. Ze lopen nu met
So they are
houten
looking to do damage to people or property,
planken. Ze lopen gewoon met wapens.
which they end up doing both.
Er rijden trouwens 3 trams gewoon bijna tegen elkaar aan. Misschien is het bouwen ze een soort muur.
Yeah, so those trams are
Komen
trying to
van twee
ride very
kanten.
close together so that no one will cross the street.
Ze komen van 2 kanten. Het
But
conflicten
once
komen
again,
nu.
there they are. So we saw a little bit of this clip earlier in a vertical format, but I want to
Zo dan, kom je bijdraaien?
make sure we check it out again.
Zo hé. Zo, oké. Ze hebben... Er kwamen terug. Ze zijn zeg maar die 2 groepen. 1 groep kwam vanaf daar. Zijn ze met z'n allen daarheen gelopen. Met stokken gegooid. Nu wordt er met vuurwerk gegooid. Dat was wel even schrikken.
Yeah?
Je merkt wel, ze zijn nog niet klaar.
Yeah, they're
Dit
not
gaat nog
done
wel
yet.
even door. Oeh. Zo, ik moest ook net stoppen met filmen. Ze zeiden, voor je eigen veiligheid zet nu je mic uit. Maar ze zijn niet blij.
Media. No. We're media. So. Okay.
Dat ga ik niet doen.
So once again, that's really more of a threat than anything. That's not really like a kind warning or anything. They're saying like, hey, this is your one warning, but like, you know, we don't want evidence of what's going on here unless it suits our narrative. So that's what he's telling them.
Maar dit, ik vond
So
dit best
once
wel
again,
spannend.
Bender here is like, we're not gonna do that. So I
Ja,
I
en
applaud
dan ook,
his
Er is
courage.
geen politie om niemand te beschermen.
I applaud his courage because
Gewoon
this is
niemand, één
scary.
busje.
This is a little
Waar zijn die paarden? Er stonden net tientallen
Where are
paarden.
the
op daar.
heroes?
Er is niks. 1 bus.
tens of police horses at the stadium. Now there's
Dit loopt uit
nothing.
de
One
hand.
van.
Het is een soort, ze
gonna
doen
get out of
hier
hand.
training. Ze doen 30 seconden keihard rennen en dan gewoon
They're
weer
running
3
really
minuten.
hard for 30 seconds,
Er is
taking
nu,
3
meer
minutes
politie.
rest. So
We
it's
lopen er
like
nu
hit
recht
training,
achter. Oké,
right?
ze sluiten hun in. Ze
High
worden een soort van
intensity.
ingesloten zodat we niet de dam op kunnen.
To prevent
Maar we
them
zitten
from
in
walking
principe nu
towards
echt
the
in
damn
het centrum.
square.
Dus we staan weer op stilstand. Ik denk dat ze daarheen
So
gaan.
once again, it's like they're resting. They're,
Ik vind, het ziet er
you know, figuring out where to go next and what to do.
levensgevaarlijk uit. Ze staan met ijzeren pijpen, stokken. Alle harde dingen die op knuppels lijken hebben ze op straat gevonden.
They have a
Dat is
bat.
gewoon mee te patrouilleren. En alles wat ze niet bevalt gaat eraan.
And there you go. You got fireworks, you got explosions.
Er is een soort team. Een soort teamoverleg. Leader of the bunch is er. Ze hebben gewoon kinderen, ik denk nog geen 12 jaar oud, lopen met stokken door de kleine straatjes voorop. En die zijn ruzie aan het zoeken.
So there are now kids walking around with the sticks too.
Kijk, ze hebben dus de kinderen van, ik denk echt jonge kinderen, nog geen 12 jaar oud.
Attack these undercover police officers with a stick. Oh, okay.
En die heeft net gewoon een politieagent undercover gewoon aangevallen met een stok. Maar ja, je kan ook moeilijk een kind van 12 het busje ingooien, maar dat lijkt op wat er nu wel gaat gebeuren. Oké, de ME komt er nu uit met schild en stok.
Police is coming through with sticks and shields.
Ik denk dat er nu aanvallen wordt, alleen wat ze niet beseffen is, Tel Aviv heeft ook schild en stok.
Tel Aviv also is armed.
Geen schild, maar menselijk schild.
Human shields and metal pipes, right.
Ze hebben het kruispunt afgezet, dus hier zodat ze de dam niet in kunnen, maar ze
So
gaan
they've
nu verder
closed off the
daarheen.
intersection.
Het wordt daar eigenlijk steeds drukker. Hier zijn alle taxis die boos zijn en ze komen nu hierop afgestormd. Ik denk dat het niet lang duurt voordat de confrontatie met politie en Tel Aviv spelers gaat. Zo, de lampen gaan aan. Wat je wel ziet is, in tegenstelling tot de Ajax-rellen, ze blijven allemaal bij elkaar. Dus het wordt echt een compacte groep. Ze worden niet uit
Very
elkaar
compact
gejaagd.
group, they're not
Ze rennen
separating.
weinig. En als ze rennen, rennen ze met z'n allen.
They're sticking together.
50 links aanhouden. Boom. Ze worden hier de straat uitgeduwd.
Okay, so now he got a little too close. So the police push him back.
Ja, doen we. Oké, politie vindt het ook spannend.
They are on edge.
Richting het spui. Ze haalden net alle kinkers uit de straten, die gingen vol op de taxibusjes.
Hooligans are taking, okay, once again, let's go
Ze haalden net alle
back. Hooligans are taking bricks out of the streets, which have already been thrown at the taxi vans. So once again, this is stuff that doesn't have to happen, but these Israeli hooligans are choosing to do this. So they are picking up bricks, and of course we'll see that they also pick up stones and stuff, and are
kinkers
throwing
uit de
those
straten,
as well.
die gingen vol op de taxibusjes. Je hoort van achter ook nog vuurwerk. Dus er is
Fireworks,
daar nog
which
een groep.
means there's
En
another
ik denk ook
group.
niet dat dat lang
Won't
gaat
take
duren voordat
long
ze elkaar
before they
misschien
find
treffen.
each other.
Ja, hier loopt het uit de hand. We staan nu op het spui.
Yeah, so they are trying to like create noise and divide things.
Zetten Amsterdam in de fik video. We zijn weer terug, maar nu met andere doeleinden. De politie zei...
There's a chance that they may throw fireworks at us.
Want er is een kans dat ze vuurwerk
Which
op
is
ons gaan
also
gooien.
dangerous.
Er is ook een kans dat wij dat op ons krijgen. Het wordt spannend, maar het lijkt erop alsof we... Ja, we gaan nu. Oh, we worden ook... van de andere groep is ook niet blij. Er staan een groep van 20 man. We werden ingesloten door een andere groep. Ze zijn niet zo blij met ons. Er staat nu een groep van ongeveer...
So yeah, neither group is happy that, you know, essentially the press is here. A little more than 100 people in a circle surrounded.
In een klein kringetje. Kijk, nu is eigenlijk de totale focus van de politie alleen hierop. En langzaam vormt hier gewoon zich een groep die daar weer tegen is.
There's a group forming against them, the hooligans.
Nou, dames en heren, helaas kon ik deze keer de wedstrijd niet
Didn't attend the match this
Dus
time.
wil je nou dat ik volgende keer wel bij de wedstrijd...
Right there, some shameless self-promotion there from Bender. Do you want me to be able to watch the game next time and make another one of these great reports? I guess, guys, like, get in there and fund this guy, you know? If,
Doneer, backmeepetor/Bender.
oh, he's got his back, me.
Dankjewel.
That's pretty cool.
Oei. Maar ze zouden...
Daar gaat de steen.
Oh,
Ja, daar ging de steen.
Threw a rock there. So the cameraman is
maar ze zouden...
Gaat de steen.
that they're picking up rocks right there and they're being thrown.
Maar ze zouden...
Gaat de steen. Gaat de steen.
Oh,
Ja,
He
daar
said there goes a rock.
er wordt met stenen gegooid. Kinkertjes losgepeuzeld hebben van de straat.
Stones that they peeled from the streets are flying through the air right now.
Maatje, we zijn fan van elkaar.
Dankjewel.
Dit moet je sowieso plaatsen op YouTube.
Dat
This
gaan
has
we
to go
doen.
on
Zeker,
YouTube.
zeker.
Binnenkort online.
So he says Zaki, good.
Free Palestina, hè?
Free He's not even, yeah, dude, he's free Palestine, man. He says we need, and he's right, and it's crazy. It's crazy they knew in the moment that, like, hey, Bender's coverage here is going to be what shows the actual, gives us some perspective here on the situation and shows what Western media is hiding from us. They are trying to make it look like the Israelis were attacked, but it's actually, with all the context here, we can see that throughout the week, they have been building and building this situation, making things worse and worse and provoking the violence and starting the violence and being the violence that we are seeing.
Zou dan weg zijn.
Maatje,
once again,
we zijn
Wolf.
fan van elkaar.
Dankjewel.
Dit moet je sowieso plaatsen op YouTube.
Dat gaan we doen.
Zeker, zeker.
Binnenkort online.
Free Palestina, hè?
There you go,
Zeker,
free
zeker.
Wat
Palestine.
vind je ervan?
Ah, dit is wel een heftige toestand, hè? Wat
It's a heavy situation.
Dit is zeker een heftige toestand.
Police are coming.
Lopen.
It looks like his interview is cut short. So it's interesting. The Israelis said, hey, we don't want you recording this because they don't want their crimes to be shown to the world. But then you get someone who is a Palestinian protester and someone who is Palestinian, arguably, is saying, like, no, we need you to record this. You need to capture both sides of this and the injustices happening, because the most important ally we have is the free press, who can speak truth to power. And that's what true journalism is. And we're not seeing a lot of that from Western media right now. So they're clearing the whole square so nobody can get close to the hooligans anymore. They just want to have this under control. Police has rushed away all the rivals of Tel Aviv supporters, so basically the square's clean again. So yeah, they're basically just trying to make sure both groups are separated so that there's not more violence than they can handle, essentially. We still have 100 Palestinian hooligans who are surrounded by police. They have to get them in vans one by one.
Omsingeld door politie. Ik denk dat ze één voor één het busje ingaan. En dat is het. Alleen langzaam verzamelen ze van die
Gathering
roken.
groups here again.
Oei, oei, oei. Ik schrok een beetje.
So yeah, you have fireworks,
Ze
explosions
staan nog
going
op het
off.
bruggetje daar. Richting het spui nog een beetje bommetjes af te steken. Maar ik denk dat het nu wel rustig is. Alleen ik ben heel benieuwd wat er
What are they
met
going
die
to do with
supporters
the
gebeurt.
Tel Aviv supporters? So one thing that we know, because obviously this video is from the night of, things that we know that have happened since is that none of these Israeli people, Tel Aviv supporters, have been arrested. So they were just allowed to go home, regardless of the damage they have done or the people they have hurt.
Die staan daar gewoon nog steeds.
And once again, they're masked up, right? Masked and hooded up.
Waarvoor was dat nodig?
I don't know what's going on there. Someone must have provoked or said something, or police are on
Het
edge,
is
you know.
eigenlijk wel... Het zijn nog wel nare gassies. Want veel van die Israëli's...
He's also mentioning something that's very true here. He says most of the Israelis have been in the military, so they can be strong and know their tactics. I think he actually has a point there, is that, you know, it is a requirement that you serve in the Israeli military when you are called to do so. And so it is very true that there could be, you know, former IDF in the crowd, and also that there have been reports that Mossad and other agencies could have, you know, spies and people that will either manipulate or antagonize the situation within the group. I have to wait until there's actual evidence of that, but it is very clear that IDF could be embedded in this group.
En ze weten wel alle tactieken een beetje. En ook kunnen ze gewoon in het Israëlische...
They can talk in Israeli and the police won't know what they're saying. So yeah, he's also saying that they could speak, you know, their language,
Je weet niet
and
of ze nu bespreken,
police
laten we
here
met z'n
might
allen
not
door
know
die
it.
ene kant heen rammen. Dat weet je niet. Maar het lijkt er wel op alsof ze redelijk onrustig aan het worden zijn. Want ze zijn nu denk ik al een half uurtje
Looks
aan het
like they're
wachten.
becoming restless because they've been standing here for half an hour.
Er staat een soort van...
They're discussing something, so they have some sort of leader here, and that they're also putting up middle fingers.
er wordt een
all
middelvingertje
sorts
naar
of
gestoken.
gestures, and they're pointing at Bender.
Er wordt een leidertje in het midden en die is denk ik even alles aan het vertellen.
So yeah, you can definitely tell that there's
We
some
gaan even
conspiring there.
De
So now, once again, further aspect of journalism is that he's going to inspect the weapons that have been laying on the floor. They want to document the stones that have been pulled, you know, from the streets. You know, you can get them around those trees where they have little rocks gathered. Of course, they're pointing out the pallets and the wood that they picked up. The hooligans are saying, let's go. More pallets.
Ik kan je wel zeggen, als ze eruit breken, zijn wij weg. Want toen we daar liepen, toen kregen we al...
Zijn ze aan het begeleiden? Kijk.
Oh, kijk, ze worden begeleid.
So they're being escorted.
Of zij zijn juist niet de goeie en ze plukken ze eruit. Oh, ze worden weer teruggeduwd. Ik denk
Loading them up in the vans. So once again, there were no consequences for this. It was really just like, load them up, get them back to their hotels, get them on a train out of town, you know, whatever, right?
Daar waar ze mee gooien zijn flinke stenen. Half kilootje per stuk.
Half kilo each, these rocks, like oranges, he said.
En de
So
agenten
big
trappen allemaal
rocks.
weg. Alleen ze komen nu allemaal heel dicht op
Officers
elkaar staan.
kicking
Dus
them
de frictie
away.
wordt juist alleen maar meer. Ik snap niet helemaal zo goed wat
Friction's
ze
getting
nou aan het doen
worse.
zijn. Ze worden nu weggeleid. De stad, ja, naar de
So they're being
woning. Ik
mass
denk naar een
escorted
hotel
to their
waar ze
hotels.
verblijven. Ze moeten met allen weer weg. We kregen wat leuke middelvingers.
More middle
Dus
finger.
gaan we erachteraan.
And I guess they decide to follow them.
Air treatment. Ze worden allemaal het busje ingegooid. Alleen daar zijn ze
And
volgens
they
mij
have
ook
big
niet helemaal mee
buses
eens.
to evacuate
Ze
and
werken absoluut niet
pacify
mee
them.
met het busidee. De helft zit erin en de helft rent weg.
So some are getting in, some are getting out, some are throwing
Dat is
rocks.
op dat huis met al die vlaggen. De politie heeft iets niet zeer tactisch gedaan. Hier zit een groot, volgens mij, kraakpand.
Building full of
met
squatters with a lot of Palestine flags on it.
Palestijnse vlaggen.
There you go.
Er worden stenen op de ruiten gegooid. Ze hebben
And
gisteravond de vlag
apparently the hooligans were throwing rocks at the windows. And then Bender is also saying that last night they tore down those flags and burned them because these flags are all over town, you know, at residents and homes and stuff like that. And now we are exactly back at this spot again. There you go.
Ze willen het busje niet in.
But once again, they don't want to get in the bus. Some are throwing rocks.
Hier, kom daar kijken. Oh, de taxichauffeurs. Er worden weer stenen gegooid.
Taxi drivers, rocks are being
Het
thrown.
blijft maar doorgaan. De taxichauffeurs zijn ook weer verzameld.
Taxi
Hier is het
drivers
huis,
are
hier zijn ze
gathered here
naartoe begeleid.
again.
Het is eigenlijk niet zo slim gedaan. En het riedeltje begint weer opnieuw. De helft zit in de bus en de andere helft is er met stenen en stokken aan het gooien.
Yeah, so middle fingers all around.
En nu dit. Er staat eigenlijk, ik denk, een stuk of 100 taxis.
Under taxi here, all the way around the corner, honking and getting out of their cars. Yeah, so the taxi drivers are not loving the unrest.
Tel Aviv supporters.
And looking for conflict with Tel
We
Aviv
zitten in een
supporters.
lastig parket. Er stapt nu als chauffeur
The
gewoon
bus driver is a small, sweet
een
lady.
vrouwtje in.
Oh, and she has to shuttle these people around.
Ik hoop
Yeah,
dat ze een loonsverhoging
that's
krijgt.
pretty terrible.
Want anders was dat het hem niet waard, denk ik. Nou, dames en heren, het busje zit weer vol. Ik ben benieuwd of ze op de trein zetten. Of dat
I'm
ze gewoon
curious
weer,
that they'll put
een
him
dagje
on
in
the
de cel
train
mogen
or if
zitten.
they'll spend
Of
the night
gewoon
in
weer
jail
terug naar een
or just go
hotelletje.
back to their
Maar,
hotel. So other thing that's really important there is that, yeah, there were no consequences, like actual consequences for their actions tonight.
Het zit er weer op van vandaag. Het was weer eens heerlijk genieten. Dankjewel voor het kijken.
He did a real good job. He's a good one. Good journalist. That's Bender. So yeah, a lot of his coverage is being lauded, and of course organizations are using it to sort of, you know, portray a different angle there. So any other important context here is that we also learned that the guy that was thrown out of the taxi cab and beaten was actually a Moroccan person. There is also oh, okay. Some of those videos are from previous Tel Aviv Maccabi fans. I have a tweet here from Mehdi Hasan on this. There's a coordinated attempt on this hell site. He's talking about X, you know, Twitter, tonight to accuse me of anti-Semitism because I pointed out the fact that the Israeli Football Hooligans started the violence in Amsterdam. That's not a justification of the violence that followed, of course, and these attacks on me are obviously a proper hit job from multiple high-follower pro-Israel accounts who are cynically using and abusing anti-Semitism to protect Israel and smear their opponents. I plan to carry on criticizing Israel while also speaking out against actual anti-Semitism against Jews, which is likely to increase on Trump's watch as it did last time. We should all stand against anti-Semitism, and that includes pushing back against those who conflate Israel with all Jews or outrageously compare violent racist Israeli soccer hooligans to Anne Frank. Well, there you go. So just an important statement and a little more context. I do have another video here. This is from the Amsterdam Police. I'm going to actually bring this up as well. And this is Maccabi supporters here. And once again, there will be English subtitles here. Ripped a flag from a building. We might have to pause just to read. From a building on the Roken, a central square, and they destroyed a taxi. Dam Square Palestinian flag was set on fire.
A large group of Maccabi fans gathered in Dam Square in central Amsterdam. Some arrests were made after trouble between the Israeli club's fans and pro-Palestine protesters, police said. Then, on their way to the match, some Maccabi fans were filmed singing racist and anti-Arab songs.
Let the IDF win, F the Arabs. So once again, that's it from that video. It's repeating again. And the next bit that we have here is, this is kind of following up in the days after. This is coming in the days after. It says, massive motorcycle rally to support the Palestinian people of Gaza has been staged in Amsterdam. There is no doubt which side the Dutch people are on, and once again, we'll full screen this video here. So, a lot of bikers. You can see a lot of Palestinian flags. And once again, all the pro-Palestinian protests that were, scheduled and that people wanted to have while Tel Aviv was in town were actually canceled. And so they were doing this, as most protests are. Protests are not done because it's popular or it's approved or it's okay. A lot of times you have to go against, and you have to have your voice be heard. There's never like a proper time and place where no one's inconvenienced by protesting. It is always controversial, and just try to keep it civil and peaceful. And once again, this is more pro-Palestinian protests in the time following. So it's very clear that there is a lot of people that are definitely not a fan of what these Israeli fans have done. Now, we have some more footage from another person, from Annette here. She is a photographer, and she happened to be also filming some things while Bender was also out in the streets back and forth. She has this here for us on Twitter. Amsterdam, Tel Aviv, supporters guide to central station by a huge police force. So we'll look at some of her video footage here, just to kind of show you what some of the other Tel Aviv supporters were doing. They were lighting fireworks and flares and stuff like that, causing lots of unrest. And of course they're masked, they don't want people to see who they are. Our next one here, this is the central station, so Bender would probably also be somewhere in this area around the same time. And yeah, you're seeing fights, right? And once again, this is the Maccabi fans. Like, we know their colors now after watching a lot of this footage here. Let me actually go back to a widescreen format here. I'm just going to take that video back a little bit. So yeah, you can see the fights. See this stuff in detail. That's them throwing the pipes at the police vans, fighting people. This is some of the, similar footage where the taxi drivers were being attacked and assaulted. But once again, the media is leaving all of this, all Western media is leaving this out of their coverage, and we're going to talk about that further later on here on this episode. But yeah, you can see that's their colors, that's their people, it's unmistakable, okay? More footage from Annette here, and this is once again showing some of the police vans here. We can full screen that as well. But you can see the police vans. Just another perspective on all the events there. And these are very short clips. Another tweet here from Annette. It says, legitimate question. What I explained to several media channels is that the Maccabi supporters deliberately started the riot in front of Central Station returning from the game. They came from two directions, lit heavily fireworks at Damrak, and gathered in front of the hotel. From there, they attacked one or two Amsterdam citizens, hit them. The men escaped, and the Maccabi supporters gathered back into the group. From there, they went into the city. In this incident, Misinformation by BILD. So this is, a Dutch news organization here. And of course, this person here is asking Annette here if she can confirm that the screenshot that German newspaper uses while headlining that they're seeking Arabs or attacking Jews rather is a Maccabi mob that's chasing pedestrians, or is this a screenshot of a situation where a Dutch Muslim mob attacked Israelis? And once again, she's just further correcting the situation that most of the aggression has been provoked by Maccabi supporters that have started the riots, that have started the violence, and as you can see from our continued coverage, that they have been the ones picking up the pipes and the wooden planks. Annette also has something further because a lot of her coverage has been weaponized and used improperly throughout media. So right here she has a message to news outlets. Today I received an apology from Tagesschau, if I'm saying that right, for abusing my footage of the incident which took place after the soccer game in Amsterdam between Ajax and Maccabi Tel Aviv. I refer also to the footage of reporter Bender, right there, so once again, who covered the same fight with more details. And of course, she's calling out Bild, she's calling out CNN, she's calling out BBC, The Guardian, New York Times, and we can also throw Sky News in there, which we're going to take a look at some of their footage, that they have also misrepresented this. So it doesn't matter what Western news organization that you've been watching, they have all in their own ways. They have all in their own ways misrepresented the situation and purposefully removed context so that they can make this seem like it is something else entirely, which is anti-truth, anti-news, anti-journalism. Journalism is about speaking the truth to power. I would like you, she also says, I would like you to do the same as Tagesschau, an apology, a removal of my footage, and the truth, a few minutes of your precious time. Write down Maccabi supporters attacked Amsterdam citizens in front of Central Station after the game. Journalism is about finding truth, not about making money on a twist of the script. Ooh, okay, there it is. That's the key motivator right there. It's time to show some respect to reality. That's your job. Dear folks on X, would you be so kind to post all links to framings under this post so I can address more news outlets? So once again, she has more coverage right there written out. So next, I want to take a look at a video. This is from Democracy Now! They have been reporting on this situation. And there's a few things that add a little more context to the situation, and just show more perspectives on
many
this.
of them
So,
violent and Dutch
pull it
youth.
up here.
Unrest in the city began on Wednesday when fans of the Maccabi Tel Aviv football team were seen chanting such slogans, and I want to get those.
Now, it's interesting. I think slogans is the wrong word to use here, but we are seeing this. We are seeing the word slogan used when Israelis are chanting stuff, but when, pro-Palestinian protesters are chanting something, it's called a slur all of a sudden. Now, I don't think either side should be saying anything that is, racist. I don't think anything anti-Semitic needs to be said. You can disagree with the Zionist Israeli propaganda, with the genocide that they are doing on the Palestinian people. You can voice all that without being racist and without being wrong in your own context. So
slogans,
interesting that they're calling these slogans, because she is going to read what these so-called slogans are. I think she's using an improper
IDF
term.
Win and F the Arabs.
So she says, let the IDF win and F the Arabs.
But of course they say F, referring to the Israeli army's offensive in Gaza. Another video captured a fan screaming, "F you terrorists, Sinwar die."
And we did watch that
die,
clip in earlier footage.
To the Hamas leader who was assassinated.
And once again, if we look here, the footage we've been watching all night is that these people wearing these colors. So we've been following these people, these fans that are dressed in this attire. So it can't be misrepresented now. There's no way you can confuse these guys wearing these very specific colors. These are the Maccabi Hooligans. These are the Israelis that have been running around provoking the violence. You can't mistake it as any other group. You can't blame anyone else, because we have looked at all the footage here.
Die in reference to the Hamas leader who was.
So he's saying Sinwar die, everybody die, which once again,
Amsterdam's
racism
mayor
threats.
blamed, quote, anti-Semitic hit and run squads. But many observers in Amsterdam said the Israeli fans were responsible for instigating the violence. The
Context.
Israeli soccer
There you go.
fans, known as hooligans. The violence
they have
grew
instigated
into an
it.
international story as Israel sent planes to evacuate the Israeli fans. On Sunday,
And once again, we did talk about this earlier, how, it's just not something that most countries have to do, like America. We would never have to evacuate our fans from like a football or a soccer game or something like that for going and misbehaving in another country and outright causing and provoking violence, burning flags, destroying private property, rioting, stuff like that.
The Israeli journalist,
it's not to say that Americans have never been
wrote
disrespectful,
for the
but
newspaper Haaretz in
here we go.
Israel, headlined.
Okay, so this is important. I'm going to actually let her
Israeli fans.
read all this.
On Sunday, the Israeli journalist Gideon Levy wrote a piece for the newspaper Haaretz in Israel, headlined, "The Amsterdam attack shows Israelis' denial of the reality they created." In it, Gideon Levy writes, quote, "Why do they hate us so much? No, it's not because we're Jews. Not that there isn't anti-Semitism. Of course there is, and it must be fought. But the attempt to pin everything on it is ridiculous and mendacious. The North African immigrants, the Arabs and the Dutch people who rioted, saw the horrors in Gaza over the past year. They're not willing to remain silent about them. This is another cost of the war in Gaza that should have been considered. The world will hate us for it. Every Israeli abroad will be a target for hatred and violence from now on. That's what happens when you kill almost 20,000 children.
More than that.
Carry out ethnic cleansing and destroy the Gaza Strip. It's a little quirk of the world. It doesn't like those who commit these sorts of crimes."
I think it's important to note all this. I may disagree with some of his statements and some of the framing and some of his attitudes, but I think, there's no excuse for anti-Semitism, but it's also showing, like, these Israeli Maccabi fans that think they can come in here and wreak havoc in Europe and that there's not going to be consequences for their provocation is that people are not happy with the Israeli government and what they have done with the IDF. And we've seen with our eyes what they've done to women, children, and innocent civilians in Gaza, in the West Bank. They've been murdering these people. They've been bombing them. They've been starving them. And yeah, when you come to a place where you are a guest and you choose to, tout the violence that your country has been doing and, promote that genocide and rub it in people's faces and beat up people and try to spread more of that hatred and violence in other countries, it's no wonder that pro-Palestinian protesters and people that have seen this don't stand for it at all, and that's why they came out in big numbers. So I don't think there should be any violence here, but you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Again, those are the words of the Israeli journalist Gideon Levy in a piece for Haaretz.
Crazy.
Mouin Rabbani, can you talk?
So another thing that I wanted to highlight here was, once again, we saw some of these videos earlier.
They were allowed to do all this under police
pulling the
protection.
Flags down and burning them. So once again, this is the provocation that leads.
When British teams play.
This is the provocation that leads up to the violence that evening after the game.
For example, when British teams play abroad, the British government sends police details with them, not to protect the hooligans, but to restrain them and ensure that they're unable to do any damage.
Yeah.
And so,
which I do see that, we don't need to. We don't need to make this comparison that like all soccer or football fans are violent and racist and stuff like that, because in a sense that may be something that's true, but this goes beyond that step. Okay, this is more than just like, oh, we're gonna riot in the streets because we lost the game, and we're gonna flip some cars over and light some fires and break some storefronts and things. This is beyond that. This is targeted racist attacks and promoting their genocide and their racism, chanting, kill all the Arabs, die, die, die. Why are there no children in Gaza? Because they're all dead.
Talking about
chanting things like that
is not a clash between the hooligans of two opposing sides, but rather these Israeli thugs attacking people who, in principle, had nothing to do with the game, and then afterwards being confronted by their victims, with some violence included. And then you had kind of a power struggle within the Dutch elites. Geert Wilders, the far right, effectively the ruler of the Netherlands, seeking to undermine the government and prime minister he appointed in order to increase his power over them. That government seeking to retain its fiefdom, if you will, his coalition partners seeking to maintain their power. So they all began kind of outbidding each other and demonizing their own citizens, and calling these clashes an anti-Semitic Jew hunt, which would only make sense if one could demonstrate that the victims of these clashes were not just supporters of the Israeli team or Israelis more generally, but also Dutch Jews and Dutch Jewish institutions and Dutch Jewish properties. And there's no evidence that such attacks took place, or even.
So you can't really claim anti-Semitism has taken place in this specific instance.
Been understandably fearful given all these reports they were receiving about.
Absolutely. So with all that important context, I think we can move on to some of our next clips. But once again, I will have links to all this if you want to watch that full coverage. I have one last video that I want to take a look at. This is from Owen Jones. He's talking about how Sky News deletes the truth about Israeli football hooligans on their rampage in Amsterdam. He says this is a scandal. So once again, Owen Jones, a British journalist, and we're going to take a look at what he has to say, and we will look at Sky News's video here, and you will see how the original story was the truth, but then they doctored it to all of a sudden, you know, match all of Western media's lies about this situation.
Is this context was deliberately and deceitfully stripped away by Western media outlets and politicians who claimed this was a pogrom against Jewish people on the streets of Amsterdam. Now, Sky News, having been pushing comparisons with Kristallnacht on air, they actually did their job. They posted a video which accurately gave context. And do you know what they then did? They deleted it. Let's explore this further, but first, let me show you their original clip.
Violence in Amsterdam left at least 5...
So, once again, let's just note, it says Israeli football fans attacked in Amsterdam, what we know. You're going to see this title and a lot of the context change, but this is the original video that is factually correct.
Violence in Amsterdam left at least 5 people injured and dozens have been arrested. But what happened? Supporters of Israeli football club Maccabi Tel Aviv arrived in Amsterdam ahead of their UEFA Europa League match against Amsterdam club Ajax. On Wednesday, social media videos verified by Sky News show Maccabi Tel Aviv fans tearing down Palestinian flags from outside of homes. Other social media videos appeared to show residents chasing Maccabi Tel Aviv fans.
Yeah, you poke the bear, you know, the bear fights back.
Just before the game, crowds of Maccabi fans were filmed singing racist and anti-Arab songs.
So once again, we were talking about earlier how all of a sudden one side says it's slurs, one side says it's anti-Arab. You know, this is more proper context that, hey, they were actually saying this is racist. It's not just chants. It's not just, you know, slogans like this. They're actually reporting the truth here.
Were filmed singing racist and anti-Arab songs.
Let the IDF win to F the Arabs.
While a pro-Palestinian demonstration had been banned by the mayor over fears there would be clashes. Later that evening during the match, Israeli supporters appeared to disrupt the minute silence for Valencia flood victims with chants, whistles and fireworks.
There you go.
Maccabi fans were seen...
So once again, it speaks to their state of mind that they were, you know, during this moment of silence for the Spanish flood victims, that they were choosing to be loud and boisterous and to...
with chants, whistles
yeah,
and
chants,
fireworks.
whistles and fireworks here. That speaks to their state of mind, that they don't care about anyone else. They have no mercy. They have no empathy. They have no thoughts but hatred and malice. And I think that speaks to their overall state of mind.
Maccabi fans were seen attacking locals.
Once again, this is a Nets footage here that we've seen over and over. And once again, it shows how this footage, you know, it can be used properly in this first Sky News video. And then we're going to see how it can be, you know, all of a sudden you change the narration that you put over the video. And then all of a sudden it's not proper journalism. You're twisting the narrative to suit, you know, your donors or, you know, whoever's funding your channel or what have you, and what views they want to be expressed.
And fireworks. Maccabi fans were
here's
seen
the Nets
attacking
footage.
Locals as a police car can be seen driving by.
Attacking locals, that's where they beat that guy.
With Palestinian flags were seen marching on the streets. Maccabi supporters say they were beaten and attacked on the streets of the Dutch capital, with videos showing some of the violence.
But once again, violence on both sides, but the violence was provoked. I'm not promoting any violence on the other side, but it's just important to know that with the context of you provoked this and you thought you could tout your genocidal actions in a European country where you are a guest, you are a foreigner, and you don't think they're going to stand up and fight for their views and their rights, and, you know, you're destroying their property and marching down their streets, you know, chanting racist slurs and stuff like that, you think there's not going to be consequences? Like, sorry, that's just what happens. Once again, play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Palestine, we go. Good.
Sky News could not independently verify all of the footage shown. Police arrested 62 people. 5 were taken to hospital, but have since been discharged.
But once again, no charges.
Israeli far-right ultras are notorious for their racism and physical violence.
There you go.
Dutch, Israeli and British leaders denounced the attacks as anti-Semitic and even referred to it as a pogrom. But their statements failed to mention the assaults by the Israeli hooligans against Dutch citizens.
As I say, they then deleted this.
Really good reporting. Really good reporting at first. But once again, Owen Jones is going to give us further context here.
Hooligans against Dutch citizens.
As I say, they then deleted this. Originally offering no explanation whatsoever, they then posted another video they called a re-edit, which wasn't a re-edit at all, we'll come on to that, accompanied with a tweet reading, editor's note, this is a re-edit of a previous video which didn't meet Sky News' standards for balance and impartiality. Not a re-edit. It was a completely different video. Then they deleted that and then uploaded a third version. Now, the brilliant academic and near namesake of mine, Mark Owen Jones, an expert in disinformation, has done a detailed analysis of what Sky News did. Let me go through his thread. He says, this is nuts. After mysteriously...
And once again, let's take a look. On the left here, this was the original video. Israeli football fans attacked in Amsterdam, what we know. And then now it says what we know about anti-Semitic violence in Amsterdam. You understand how those are two completely different headlines that portray a completely different perspective and warp your perception of what actually happened. So yeah, let's let Owen Jones actually talk about what Mark Owen Jones, which I don't know, very interesting namesake.
Deleting a package covering the Amsterdam protests, Sky News have put up a new version. The new version completely changes the thrust to emphasise that the violence was anti-Semitic. See the opening screenshot change below. The image of the video changes from Israeli football fans attacked in Amsterdam, what we know, to what we know about anti-Semitic violence in Amsterdam. He then notes how the language was changed. In the first tweet accompanying the video, it says, Maccabi Tel Aviv fans tore down Palestinian flags and chanted racist Arab slogans. The Israeli team supporters were attacked and fights took place in the streets. That's accurate. That was then changed completely to violence in Amsterdam, what we know so far. Police in Amsterdam arrested 62 people following violence in the city on Thursday night. The city's mayor, police force, UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy and others condemned anti-Semitic violence. It then inserts into the video footage of the Dutch Prime Minister condemning anti-Semitism. Mark Owen Jones notes they added an impact narrative and vox pops, but only from a Maccabi fan, not a resident of Amsterdam.
So once again, no context, and it's all putting it from the Israeli side. It's only interviewing Israeli people. It's only interviewing people. It's not showing the Dutch citizens' perspective. It's not showing you what Bender and Annette and others have seen and recorded.
No one who was on the receiving end of violence from Maccabi hooligans. And this man says the attacks reminded him of the 7th of October. Mark Owen Jones then notes the original report ends with the reporting saying that while politicians called it a pogrom, their statements failed to mention the assaults by Israeli hooligans against...
And once again, he's saying here as if it couldn't get any worse, the original report, which we just watched, ends with the reporter saying that while politicians have called it a pogrom, their statements failed to mention the assaults by Israeli hooligans against Dutch citizens. That bit was completely deleted. So once again, it's only through independent journalists and these online personalities that this message is kept alive, and that this video that has been deleted by Sky News is allowed to continue living on the internet. Everything's permanent online. So once again, here we go.
Dutch citizens. He notes this was deleted. Why?
Yeah,
That's
why?
what happened. It's accurate. It's literally describing...
That's what I'm saying, Owen.
Now, similarly, Sky News also edited their online article. As David Clark, former special advisor to the late Labour Foreign Secretary Robin Cook, notes, the chanting of Maccabi fans is no longer referred to...
So he says, I can't see the original article, but there are 3 material differences between this version and the film clip. First, the chanting of Maccabi fans is no longer referred to explicitly and correctly as racist, is now described as in more neutral terms as anti-Arab. No, you got to call stuff what it is. Like, Journalism is about being true. It's not about obscuring the facts or putting it in clean, politically correct language. Like, there are times where, the facts have to be said and it has to be brutally true, and you have to let the viewer decide for themselves.
It was racist. No, just to be clear what we're talking about, this chanting. We're talking about chants of kill all Arabs.
Yep.
They're literally mobs of hooligans who were behaving violently, rampaging around a European city.
As I've already said, he's just
for the mass extermination of an entire ethnic group as their state slaughters Arab civilians, not least in Gaza, the West Bank, and Lebanon, every single day.
There you go.
And they sang songs about the children of Gaza all being killed. Now, as David Clark says, Sky News changed that to more neutral terms as anti-Arab. This is wild.
I agree.
Not just racism, it's genocidal racism.
A step above
than calling for
normal
the extermination
racism
of an entire people based on their ethnic group. There's literally nothing more racist than that. That is the most extreme end of racism.
That's true.
But they strip the term racism altogether. Insane. David Clark then adds, second, footage that in the film was described as showing Maccabi fans attacking locals is not referred to in the story at all. Instead, there is a still photograph, but no description of what it depicts. This is lying by omission. Stripping away basic facts, which distort your understanding of what happened, is still a lie.
Yeah. Lie of omission is still a lie. And we did talk about this earlier with how Western media has removed all the context, everything that's led up to the violence, and even showing who's picking up the pipes, who's picking up the wooden planks, So it is a lie of omission. So Owen's 100%
He then goes on, third, the
correct.
timeline of events, which is described clearly in the film, is now blurred. So the first examples of violence against Maccabi fans could be taken by the reader to predate the incident in which a Palestinian flag was torn down. So they turned the timeline upside down to again make it look like the Maccabi fans, hooligans, were the victims. As David Clark concludes, news organisations sometimes get things wrong and should be willing to change content accordingly, but they should do so transparently. This looks like a news organisation manipulating the truth as a result of private pressure.
Private pressure.
Explain themselves.
And what does private pressure mean? It could mean that your CEO or donors or, advertisers or somebody has reached out and said, hey, Sky News, I don't like this. Can you change it? There you go. Pressure from above to, it could be editors. It could be anyone above saying like, okay, I see the facts of this story, but we don't want this getting out.
He says, well, they haven't explained themselves. They just added to the bottom of the article, editors note the video in this piece is a re-edit of a previous version which didn't meet Sky News' standards for balance and impartiality. Why? What did it violate?
Yeah.
Which standards? They need to set that out. What standards for balance and impartiality did they violate? Literally, it just described what happened in order. So what didn't it meet? Now, look, we have heard for a long time mainstream media outlets passionately denouncing disinformation on social media. But what we see here is mainstream media outlets spreading disinformation.
Actively.
Then we have to rely on social media to find out what has really happened.
That's correct.
For example, on social media, a Dutch photographer who captured on film...
And once again, this is leading in to some of our coverage of Annette and Bender, and he gets into more of that. I will leave the full video in a link in the description down below. So, I mean, with all this evidence, with all of this extra context, both before and after, and testimony from witnesses showing that this was the Israeli hooligans, the Maccabi Tel Aviv hooligans, that have provoked the violence, they have stirred the violence, they were there the days before, while the Palestinian protest was, originally struck down, but obviously there were, moments where they met, and then of course where flags were burned leading up to the game, and then their loss of the game, and then police trying to separate and discourage any violence or outbursts, which once again led to it anyway. What we're seeing here is completely being misrepresented by all legacy mainstream media, whether it's CNN, Sky News, BBC, New York Times, the Post, all this stuff, all these various organizations are only showing you part of the image, and that includes News Nation as well. So very disappointed in all these outlets that they would obscure the truth, because they know that most people are going to resort to those outlets for the absolute truth, and they are now the messengers of disinformation. The very evil that they thought that only existed on social media from right-wing, fringe efforts, from people like Donald Trump and his misinformation and his, fake news outrage. They have now become the very evil that they sought to fight against. So once again, support independent media, whether it is myself or others, and continue watching our reporting. Support the channel. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you on the next one.